Joycelyn Elders, born 1933, still alive today, as of December 26, 2021. African American physician and former United States Surgeon General. Joycelyn Elders' controversial ideas about healthcare education have won her stalwart admirers and fierce critics, but neither her supporters nor her foes probably know that this pediatric endocrinologist, medical professor, and former U.S. Surgeon General did not visit a doctor until she was 15 years old. Well, where Elders grew in rural Arkansas, medical care was only for emergencies. By the time she became, quote, the nation's doctor, unquote, Elders had become quite practiced in fighting stereotypes and defending unpopular causes, something she has never shied away from doing. Minnie Joycelyn Jones was born on August 13, 1933, in Shaw, Arkansas. She was the oldest of 8 children. Her parents, Holler and Curtis Jones, eked out a living as sharecroppers, supplementing their meager cotton income by trapping raccoons. Minnie Jones grew up in a loving but destitute environment. Her home had no electricity or running water. She and her brothers and sisters worked in the cotton fields with their parents. However, Minnie was also a studious child, so studious that at age 15 she received a scholarship from the United Methodist Church to go to Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was as a college student that the young woman first saw a doctor. It was also then that she became interested in medicine. She met Edith Irby Jones, the first black woman to attend the University of Arkansas Medical School, and Jones inspired Elders to strive for a medical degree. Elders worked her way through college and graduated with a BA in 3 years. She was just 19 at the time. She joined the U.S. Army, attaining the rank of first lieutenant. She trained to become a physical therapist while in the Army, and upon her discharge, she went to the University of Arkansas Medical School, assisted by the GI Bill. She received her MD in 1960, the only woman graduate in her class. That same year, she married Oliver Elders, a high school teacher and basketball coach. The couple had 2 sons. Elders' internship was spent in Minneapolis at the University of Minnesota Hospital, and she served as a resident at the University of Arkansas Medical Center in Little Rock. In 1963, she was named Chief Pediatric Resident, and a year later, she was named a Pediatric Research Fellow. Over the next several years, her career continued to build momentum. She enrolled in the master's program in biochemistry at the University of Arkansas, from which she graduated in 1967. Soon after her graduation, she was named an assistant professor of pediatrics. In 1971, she became an associate professor, and in 1976, she was made a full professor. In 1978, she was board certified as a pediatric endocrinologist. A tragedy during the 1970s led to a meeting that would prove important in Elders' career. Her brother was murdered in Arkansas in a much-publicized case. Among those who attended the funeral was the governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton. The two got to know each other, and Clinton saw in Elders a pragmatic and dedicated physician. Clinton was so impressed, in fact, that in 1987, he selected Elders to serve as the chief public health director for the state of Arkansas. In this capacity, she oversaw a staff of 2,600 employees across the state. In 5 years, Elders made significant strides in improving health care for our people of Arkansas. She initiated a childhood immunization program that nearly doubled the number of immunized toddlers. The number of early childhood screenings rose from 4,000 to 45,000. Elders expanded the state's prenatal care program, which cut down the infant mortality rate. She made it easier for poor women to get mammograms, and she increased home care options for the chronically and terminally ill. Elders also tackled such difficult issues as teenage pregnancy and AIDS. Under her tenure, HIV virus, which causes AIDS. Elders also tackled such difficult issues as teenage pregnancy and AIDS. Under her tenure, HIV testing and counseling services were serving nearly twice as many people. She also worked to cut down the state's teenage pregnancy rate, which was then the second highest in the United States. Her advocacy of sex education and contraception rankled many political and religious conservatives, but she refused to cave in. A portent of the outspokenness that was to cut short her career as Surgeon General revealed itself at a 1987 press conference. Asked whether she would distribute condoms to students, she replied, quote, "Well, I'm not going to put them on their lunch trays, but yes," unquote. When Clinton became president in 1993, he nominated Elders to replace Antonia Novak as U.S. Surgeon General. If confirmed, Elders would be second woman and the first black to serve in that office. Not surprisingly, her nomination faced enormous opposition, especially from conservative members of Congress who saw her views on contraception and abortion rights as too liberal. After an often bitter fight, Elders was finally confirmed to the position by the Senate in September of 1993. Elders proved to be as outspoken as ever in her new role, which she saw as a, quote, bully pulpit, unquote. She called for higher taxes on both tobacco and alcohol, citing the harm both substances could do. She also supported a physician's right to use marijuana medicinally, and even suggested that perhaps the legalization of marijuana and other drugs should be explored. In an interview co-sponsored by the American Civil Liberties Union and America Online in June of 1995, Elders elaborated on her views. Quote, "Our present policy of locking marijuana offenders up and throwing away the key without treatment, without consideration of the nature of the offense, is not doing anything but promoting the prison industry and costing this country billions of dollars," unquote. Increasingly, high officials in the government, even allies of the president, question whether Elders' candor was helpful to her or to her causes, but Elders continued to speak out, convinced that the only way to deal with important issues was to confront them. Eventually, the pressure became too much for the Clinton administration, and Elders resigned in December of 1994. She returned to the University of Arkansas. In 1995, she was named to the National Board of the American Civil Liberties Union, and she published her autobiography in 1996. Today, she continues to speak out frequently on controversial issues. Her belief in the importance of combating ignorance with education remains unshaken. Citations are in the description.